The most important thing is that this gives Trump a stake that he himself recognizes in Ukraine's, again, surviving as an independent, economically viable, and secure state.
Donald Trump has approved the first export of US military equipment to Ukraine during his presidency. It follows the signing of the long-awaited minerals deal last night in Washington. A Ukrainian government source has told The Times it's a significant step from Trump after we did what he wanted from us. Well, John Herbst is a former US ambassador to Ukraine. John, good evening to you. John Herbst, are you with us? I think you might have muted yourself. You're back. Fantastic. John, thanks for being with us. Really appreciate it. So here we have a minerals deal signed without really any security guarantees. And it feels like to make up for that, Donald Trump has, he's decided to approve quite a good package of military equipment, $50 million worth to start with, to Ukraine. Tell us what you make of it.
The mineral deal is in the interest of both the United States and Ukraine. The U.S. needs to end its dependency on adversaries like China for critical minerals and for rare earths. And Ukraine is estimated up to $26 trillion worth of critical minerals, including rare earths. And it's in Ukraine's interest to get American capital in there, one, to develop this, but two, of course, if there's American capital there, Trump has a reason, which he understands very well, for making sure that Ukraine survives as a sovereign, independent, and economically viable state. Plus, you mentioned something else which is very important. The deal itself mentions possible sending by Trump or the new weapons going to Ukraine, and now we have reports of actual weapons starting to move to Ukraine under Trump's authority. And that is a serious blow to the Kremlin because they want very much the United States to end all weapon supplies to Ukraine so they can take effective political control of the country. So it's been a very bad day for Moscow, a good day for the United States, and a good day for Ukraine.
How good a deal, if we're to look impartially at this, how good a deal is this for Ukraine?
The most important thing is that this gives Trump a stake that he himself recognizes in Ukraine's, again, surviving as an independent, economically viable, and secure state. But I've read through the terms of the agreement. It is far better than drafts we've seen first in February and since February. The Ukrainian Prime Minister Shmyhal said all the language that Ukraine found objectionable in the early drafts have been removed. So I think this is not a bad deal on the economic side, but a great deal in terms of Ukraine's geopolitical position, in terms of Ukraine's security.
I mean, that is the question, as I was referring to earlier, that there's not much of a security guarantee in there for Ukraine. And this deal, does it not, relies on investment? It relies on building this fund that will go on.
Let's be clear. I agree with you that it would be smart for America's national interest to ensure Ukraine had a security guarantee. And the best would be by admitting Ukraine into NATO. Unfortunately, that's not the view of the current administration. But the fact that American support, military and military intelligence support for Ukraine is critical for Ukraine's defense is the real story around the mineral deal. The fact that American weapons under Trump are proceeding to Ukraine. And that's, again, a severe setback for Moscow. And there's a second point in Trump's approach to security. It was his idea for the deployment of European troops to Ukraine, something that Macron and Starmer have taken up in a big way, supported by others in Europe, the Balts, the Finns, the Scandinavians, Czechs. And this may involve ultimately strong American support for European troops deploying.
Yeah.
If that happens,
I have to say,
Ukraine's
though,
got a very serious
I mean,
security.
I have to say that there are huge question marks over whether Britain and France and anyone who joins them at the moment, no one else has stuck their hand up, can actually provide those troops. And if they could, will they in the end? So the sort of trying to keep that territory, safe and secure. There is a huge question mark over that. It has to please Ukraine, though, that the agreement refers to Russia's full-scale invasion. That is an important point to make. No payback needed of that $350 billion. That is disputed, by the way. That's what Donald Trump says that they've sent to Ukraine in terms of aid during this war. And I think, first of all, we've got to ask how long it will take, just by your assessment, John Herbst, how long it will take for the US to financially benefit from this deal, and whether there is a risk that it is less than Donald Trump thinks it is. And because the agreement doesn't necessarily lock America in for a period of time, that the danger here is that if it doesn't give Donald Trump what he thinks he's going to get, even if that's what's realistic, he's going to walk away and completely kibosh Ukraine.
Well, there are enough problems around the war Russia is committing in Ukraine and the Trump administration's idiosyncratic approach to this real threat to American security. We need to consider other possibilities, but I think you're hypothesizing things that are possible but not likely. Everyone knows that development of rare earths and critical minerals, mining them and then refining them, takes many, many years. So the benefits to the United States are years away, but getting started on this is something for the moment. So I don't have any doubt that there'll be a return, assuming that Ukraine wins this war, survives as a sovereign independent state, which I think it probably will, but that's still not definite. But the payoff to the U.S. economic years away, and I don't think Trump misunderstands that.
Okay.
So I'm not concerned of him walking away from this minerals deal.
Yeah. Look, something to break to you. We understand. Well, this is what Donald Trump said. Mike Waltz will be the next ambassador to the UN. That is the National Security Advisor, Mike Waltz, left his post today. Now he's set to be the next ambassador to the UN. Slightly away from what we've been talking about, but as an American, tell us your response to that.
Well, I think Jim Jeffrey was right when he told you a few minutes ago that Waltz is a smart national security professional. So he can certainly handle the job at the UN, which should be far less difficult than being the NSA, the National Security Advisor, under this president. And that means that that's not a bad place to put him. And Trump had to find someone to fill in behind Stefanik, who they needed to stay in Congress. So I welcome that news.
Okay. Look, good to speak to you. Thank you for being with us.
My pleasure. Thank you.
That is John Herbst, who's a former US ambassador to Ukraine.